Okay. Last thing I did was investigating two separate sort of entanglements in the center. And just to review it, if I do LDNA, LL, and then what I call a left dominant switch, which is to say that the left loop goes over the right loop and they are switched, and I get this thing in the center, which is what I used in order to get the inner wheat hole. And the other thing is, if I'm doing an opening A or opening B, one way, this is opening A. If I do a left dominant transfer where they are just pulled over each other, it holds. Now, you can't do a dominant transfer with a DNA opening because it disappears. So I started thinking about doing 4 loops. This would be an L, L, L. And then I wanted to see what I could make. So one of the things I did was to get a left dominant switch and then a left dominant transfer on the index loops, and then a left dominant switch followed by a left dominant switch on the middle finger. And now I'm going to do the ending, reach and pull from the bottom, the index, and stack the middle, lift out from the top, go up through this hole in here to pull down the straight across string, reach back with the pinchers and pull through. And what I found was I had a very nice little heart. And since yesterday was St. Valentine's Day, I thought that that was rather auspicious. As you can see, there is the heart the way it looks to me. And by fooling around, I found that almost always I would get a heart if I had an opening so that I could do the left dominant switch on the bottom, which is to say, if I did an L, L, R, for example, the LR on the top is as if it were an opening A. So I can then do a left dominant transfer, no, a right dominant transfer, excusez-moi, and then perhaps a left dominant switch, followed by, on the bottom, the left dominant switch, because that is where I'm getting my heart. And if I do everything else the same and let it flare, you can see, if I can do it here so that I get it, there it is. I get my heart, but I also have a little hole in the center. You see, there is a complexity in the center, and I can get a heart almost every time I wish to by putting the left dominant switch on the bottom. Actually, it's a little more complex than that, because there are L, 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 R, L, R, L, and so forth. But if you have a way of investigating, you will find that there are only 20 ways of doing those particular things. I have the information all written down in my notebooks from the last couple of days, and I will show them on my website, taurusflex.com, when you look up this latest video that I'm now making. Now, I thought that I might try to do one final, and I don't remember if this is the one that works the way, left, right, left. So this is a right-left on the top here, so it should allow me to do a left dominant switch, because it is the same as an opening A. Now on the bottom, it should be an opening B, so I would have to do a right dominant switch in order to get my heart. And if I then finish, you can see I indeed do get a heart sort of figure. Where is this little loop? There it is. There it is. It's a very interesting little figure because you have those loops that are on the sides of that heart-looking center. Now, it's very interesting to me that if you want to form figures like this, you must find a special string. This string is, if you come in very close, as I turn this around, you can see that there is a circular spin to the way the string is. It is a solid braided nylon, and because it has that twist in it, it naturally assumes these rounded curves, and it is because it is solid braided, it is a stiffer string, and I rarely run across it because they tend to only make softer strings, and these strings here were made for starting small gasoline motors. But this is the only string I have left which will do these kinds of things for me. But anyway, now that I have really begun to discuss the fact that there are 20 different ways that you can do a double maneuver of either transfers or switches in the center with a for-loop situation, I wanted to look and see what would happen if, for example, this is an LLL. And I will do a left dominant switch, since this is a canonical beginning figure. But instead of, after I have lifted it out, instead of going up through all of those, perhaps I would like to skip that first one. Not skip the first one. Which one am I doing here now? I'm going to skip both of them so that I push them back out of the way when I pull this down and don't go up through that hole. And then when I do this, I have what I would consider to be sort of a derivative, because the information is going to fall back down into the center, and you can see that that first one isn't very interesting. But it gives the idea that you can do it. Let's do the same thing. Left dominant switch, left dominant switch, left dominant switch, left dominant switch, but this time let's skip only this first one here by pushing it back, and then let's pull this down, and that way we only drop one piece of information back into the center, which it has to be pulled through so that you can see what happens And there we are. And you see, that is a very simple little heart, which is sort of interesting and allows you to think about making a simple center, which you cannot normally make with a 3-loop opening, by having a 4-loop opening and then carefully choosing where and what you're going to drop back into the center so that it can simplify into another sort of center. That's kind of a weird way to put it, but let's try the same thing again, except this time, instead of pushing that one back, we push only the top one back. So those are the 3 kinds of things that you can do. And here again, I drop that information back into the center, and it has very simple outcome. Now, you might not think that you can do much with that, but if I can look at my notes for a second here, the last couple of things that I did, the last one thing that I did. More notes, more notes. Okay. Well, let's see. I don't really, doesn't look like I said which one was the one that I was interested in, so I will just do 1 or 2 and then make sure that I put all the information on the internet in my website. Say, let's do a left, right, left. And let's do left dominant switch, left dominant transfer, right, right dominant switch. And let's do the last one as the one we skipped, the top one, and push everything into the center. And now you begin to see that there are ways that you can have that center with straight across strings and with wraps. And if you start investigating, and I will show in my discussion on Torus Flex, you can have some very interesting entwinings in the center there. And the other thing that you can do, which I find very interesting, is I will do left dominant switch, left dominant transfer. This is an LL, left switch, left dominant transfer. I have not a heart, I have something else there. And if I choose to skip the first one and push back the top one and drop that information into the center, I begin to get something in the center here which I wish to manipulate a little bit. So I pull it out and put 2 diamonds on the sides. And once I've done that, I can begin to play with it because I have it sort of encapsulated there. And you can begin to see that there are symmetries to be found which you would not normally expect to see. There we are. Let me see this one here. Pull it this way so that I can, there we are. And you can begin to see that there is a little sort of face there with big loop ears, and that winding in the center with the cross strings being held by that winding in the center. I find that quite interesting, and I think that with a little practice you can get a string such as this and make three-dimensional shapes out of this center and begin to really understand what you are doing whenever you are using left dominant switches, left dominant transfers, right dominant switches, and right dominant transfers in a methodical study of what you can do, and you can make some very fascinating, to me, modern, sculptural centers, such as that. And I would like to start filling up my Taurus Flex with pictures of my new creations.